All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining this week's Around the Sailing World Zoom here. I'm checking in from the home office. Behind me here, I'm not down in New Zealand, but certainly jealous that I think this is Mac there doing a little leech cord trim or something like that. But looking closer and closer, like, they may have to play the game by themselves down there as none of us get to go and watch. But pretty cool times. They snuck their boat out of Rhode Island without anybody telling us in the middle of the night. I'm sure everybody knows. So can't wait to see what that second boat will look like. Any predictions on same, close, or different? Ed, what do you think?
Well, what I understand is that they've taken a step in a different direction for sure. So we'll see what it looks like. But I'm a bit disappointed that you feel like they snuck the boat out. Anytime the Antonov lands in your airport, there's no sneaking about it. It's an impressive big old plane, and we had that come into Fort Lauderdale one time with a couple of Volvo 60s on it, and we kept saying, "Is that it? Is that it?" When we would see the lights coming, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, that's it." I mean, it is big. So yeah. But I think it sounds like the guys have learned a lot from the boat they had, the first one, and made some adjustments and a little bit of change. And I doubt that it's going to look the same way.
Excellent. We're going to try to nail Terry down next week. He's been evasive, so we'll try to get him back on here, and maybe he'll give us a sneak peek. I don't know. So Jonathan, you're up in Fire Country. It's devastating to see what's been shown so far. So I'm assuming you're making out okay, and what's happening in your part of the world?
Well, I just got back from Michigan, where the smoke hasn't reached there yet. But flying in last night, you could see heavy smoke all the way through Montana, Idaho, Washington. So it's covering the West. We've got an index level here of 200, which is between unhealthy and extremely unhealthy. So we've been advised to stay indoors, probably be that way all this week. And my brother lives down in Bend, Oregon, Central Oregon, and it's even worse down there. He's on the verge of evacuation. So it's pretty crazy times.
All right, well, stay healthy there. You're racing 52s then, I'm assuming?
Yes. Yeah, we had the Great Lakes Championship in Holland, Michigan these last 3 days.
Yeah, and how'd you guys understand it was the WinQuest? So who came out on top of that one?
Yeah, the mighty WinQuest squeaked by us by 1 point. It's good to be close to them, but it would have been even better to beat them. But it was a good regatta, and it's only 4 boats, but it was 4 competitive boats, and it was fun racing. It's just you don't take racing for granted these days. So having the opportunity to go racing was really great, as I'm sure Ed will lament.
Yep.
It's not fair he gets, yeah. So I mean, the boats you said are everybody's pretty even at this point. What was a bit of a focus for you guys to elevate what you've got going on the program?
I think what we did primarily to elevate the program on our boat, the Natalie J, was we brought in Greg Gendel, who is one of the top bowmen in the world, if not the top, for this style of racing. And he was really able to, through the addition of one person, just elevate the whole team, and especially our whole forward crew, and just take us to a different level from a boat handling standpoint. And, as a tactician, that is so powerful, to feel like you can come into any situation and you're going to be able to get the sails up and down with no problem.
That's impressive. So maybe as a tactician, do you find, would you give some advice to more grassroots programs about make sure they're, start with the bowman first and then fill in from there?
Yeah, I would say you need some experience on the front, either the pit or the bow, or someone up there that really can kind of orchestrate the front of the boat. And maybe Ed can speak to this a little bit more on how they do it on their program.
Well, Greg is our bowman. So, but as Dave is saying, if you go back to grassroots and club racing and folks that are still, climbing the ladder to learn, everything you can do to make boat handling simple and to make boat speed good is making you be able to sail a smarter race. Jonathan can be the world's greatest tactician, and if the kite doesn't come down and they take 6 or 8 lengths to get it sorted while the fleet catches up and goes around inside of them, you can't get around the course and be the leader. So we always work on that stuff, no matter what kind of team I'm on, is just make sure that you know what your limitations are, if you have some, and really be confident with your boat handling and your boat speed when it's time to lean on them. And the more you can do to get to that level, the better.
Yeah, it is amazing how many boats, I guess, over the years I've seen where just somebody new comes on, you throw them in the pit, and probably the worst decision you can make, huh? It's, yeah. Okay, my daughter just finished her class, so we'll keep going. All right, Chris, you've been away for a while. What have you been up to?
Well, the sailing here in San Diego continues to kind of be shut down. We still have a households only order for recreational boating. So all the sailing or organized racing that's been happening has been single-handed sailing. And so actually it's been kind of fun in terms of, we have a boat around here called the Naples Sabot, which is sort of unique to our part of the world. And our adult Sabot sailing has exploded with the likes of Steve Hunt and George Szabo and myself out there doing battle on Tuesday nights, which has been kind of fun. But the organized racing has been pretty slow to come back. I was up in LA on Friday, and there was I think 12 or 13 J70s went out for kind of an organized or semi-organized group sail, they were calling it, where actually some races were run over the weekend, and some coaching sessions happened on Friday. But yeah, it's been pretty much locked down around here. We've been lucky. We have had some significant fires to the east of us, but compared to the rest of the West Coast, it's pretty small. A lot of haze in the air. When I was up in LA, they've got a huge fire burning east of LA, and God, the smog there was just amazing. I mean, take the worst smog day you've ever seen in LA and triple it, and it was pretty darn scary, actually. But other than that, all is well, and we're just plugging along. There's been a significant push from the local yacht clubs to try to get this restriction eased. So far, they have not been successful, but I'm hoping that in the next month or so that might change, because there's been a lot of pressure put on the policies are very inconsistent. We have an active charter fishing fleet here, which has been allowed to operate with non-households, obviously, taking 30 people out fishing, yet we can't do any type of organized non-household sailing. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's taken a long time out there to get it going, hasn't it? And so that was our week cancellation of the New Year guys. We thought we could make it happen, but yeah, as you said, the easing wasn't going to allow it. So as we would have been there next week, it's a no-go. And so is it hard to find a good competitive Sabot at this time? Are people raiding basements and garages out there, or what's the situation?
Yeah, you can buy a new one, and they're quite expensive, as you might suspect. And then, but to find a used one is next to impossible. I've been racing one of the ones my kids learned how to sail in. So,
how the mighty have fallen, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All good.
So it sounds like we need a good dust up between Bill Harsty then and Steve Hunt would be the
exactly
kind of battle that we could get set up out there at some point.
Yeah.
We're going to get that live
Sabot's
stream.
quite weight sensitive, so I'm pretty sure Steve might win out on that one.
We'll put
I bet
Harthian
there's
up
some
on the
12-year-old kids that would kick both of their asses.
Well, yeah, we also, while we were all out there sailing, we also had the current junior national champion who essentially sailed circles around all of us. So that was kind of fun. It is fun.
Good stuff. All right. So what your one speed tip then for the Sabbat for those new to the class then?
Good question. Well, the boat has a lee board. It doesn't have a center board. So the lee board's on the starboard side. So you got to sail the boat extra flat when you're on starboard tack. Yeah. Even if you can actually heel it to windward, it's even better. So it's kind of a funky little boat, that's for sure. But lots of fun.
So speaking of lee boards, so with us today, Francesca and Jesse, they've got, I guess it would be the modern version of two lee boards with these Figaro foiling, side assist foiling things, whatever you want to call them. And so Jesse, looks like you're probably in the North Sails Loft in Portsmouth, I think. And Francesca, you're checking in from Utah?
Well, I'm actually in Long Beach right now. So
Long Beach, okay.
I can feel the smoke too here in the West Coast. It's not really good here neither. So yeah, I would love to be in Park City right now, probably.
A little air cleaner. But so I imagine most of our viewers don't know you, because you've obviously, you've come from Italy, you've settled here, and you've started a bit of a campaign of sorts with Jesse. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you guys are up to.
Yeah, as you said, I'm pretty new to the U.S., especially to the U.S. Sailing here, and I feel that we've been super lucky in Rhode Island and Newport because we've been able to race already a few events. It was always on the limits to be canceled or not, but then honestly, it has been awesome to be able to be out on the water racing against other boats because. Yeah, in Europe, the sailing events are slowly moving on, but yeah, it have been hit really hard for the COVID, and I can hear that in other parts of the US, it's still pretty stuck. So I feel that with Jesse, we had a great opportunity to be racing during the summer, and I think we took the most out of it, and especially the last event, I think after having a few hours on the boat and a bit more experience, we've been able to perform better, and we are able to push the boat better compared to a few months ago, and we are able to go faster and actually make better decisions on the race course. So I think it's been a massive learning curve. We are still on a really low step of the learning curve. I feel that we have so much more to do, and it's great. It's really motivating us.
All right, and you came from the 470 class, right?
49er FX. So
49er, okay. Sorry.
I did one Olympic on the laser radial and one Olympic on the 49er FX.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that. And so this is a nice switch to the big boats, and so I think the Olympics is long term, right? But for now, you guys are kind of the early pioneers of this Olympic double-handed sailing discipline, right? And so how did you and Jesse get paired up? How did this all happen? It looks like Jesse relocated as well. So
yeah, I think it was pretty amazing to have a phone call with Malcolm Geffer, and he was looking for some women sailors that have some experience in Olympic sailing and offshore sailing. So I did a couple of Olympic games, and I've been lucky enough to do the last Volvo Ocean race, and yeah, of course, like having an opportunity to go sailing in a double-handed offshore is kind of like the mix of these two worlds coming together, like really high performance on the dinghy, going, the everyday training concept, and with a one goal that is in 4 years. And then the offshore experience that is more like, some sort of like navigation, long-term planning and routing and weather forecasting. So it's amazing for me to being able to have a trial with Jesse. We went sailing for a week and so, and I think we click from the beginning, and it's really great to sail with Jesse, honestly. Like we both bring different skills, and that's, I think, is the key of our team. Where Jesse is pretty awesome on hold the boat handling on board, and maybe I have different skills, like in the trimming or navigation, and we try to share the jobs on board, and it seems to work so far. So we both need to improve a lot, but it's a good starting point.
Jesse, maybe you can back up a little bit. This Beneteau program, how did you look into it real quick, and then what was, maybe you could sort of explain what you guys are trying to do near term, long term.
Sure. Well, Dave, thanks for having us. Hope the feed's coming through here from building 2 at Hinckley. Got the mighty Courageous in the background. Maybe Gary's still watching from over there. But one of those stories just across the way at North Sales, Malcolm walks into my office at the time and needs a set of Figaro 3 sails, which made my ears perk up. Such a interesting class, and obviously one we follow, and one I followed for a long time because it's the hotbed of offshore and coastal racing, and the French are arguably at this point in time at the head of that pack, and that class is what provides a lot of the drive there. So always followed, but never got to experience. And I said, all right, Malcolm, we'll get you a set of sails, but I'd love to go for a ride. And between then and now, he has put together an incredible program with an incredible opportunity for a U.S. flagged team to really develop and go down the pathway of short-handed, double-handed, mixed gender sailing. And that pathway can lead to a lot of things, but like you said, near term, we're really trying to stay in the moment and learn as much as we can. I think the biggest thing that Francesca and I can do as athletes in the mix is just be the best sponges we can be. As with any crew member on any boat, you're just trying to get up that knowledge learning curve as quickly as possible. So that's really our day-to-day focus, and it's all about skill building and skill discovery, really. And we've had an amazing opportunity this summer to do that in Rhode Island. Rhode Island's provided a sailing environment that allows us to operate in a safe way with the 2 of us on a boat and in the same bubble, if you will. And events have been put on, and can't thank those organizers enough for setting out the start line and providing the racetrack. So, we, like anyone in the world, we're taking it one day at a time. And from a day-to-day standpoint, it's all about skill building. And it's great to be able to do that with a sailing partner like Francesca. She brings a ton to the table, including a big dose of humility. She's incredibly skilled and incredibly fast. So great to be sailing with her.
And so you guys, the side foils, I think so. They're not truly lifting it like we see with the 60 footers, but a little more riding moment system. And was that a little bit awkward getting used to in the sort of the concept of the Sabot lee boards?
Yeah, it's very Sabot-like. I didn't grow up sailing Sabots, but if you've got to think about it in a leeway standpoint, from a leeway standpoint, and sort of understand the basic lifting component, because they are a foil. And so as with everything these days, there's foils everywhere, and there's a learning curve as to how they affect the boat as well. So yeah, we're on all learning curves, and foils are definitely one of them. And they make the boat a much better boat than if they weren't there, especially at pace. They really help the boat track. And offshore sailing has this massive battle with leeway, and where are you in the world, and where are you going actually on the GPS. So the straighter you can go, the faster you'll get there. So it's a great tool to have. And again, the French are out front with this stuff. The Figaro 3 didn't get built yesterday. It's been in process for a while, and whether you're sailing them with 1, 2, or 4 people, it's a very cool piece of machinery. So that in and of itself we're very fortunate to be able to not only have one of those tools, but I'll try to pan over here. Oh, all good.
That's right. I'm gonna run a little video here while we're chatting, I think, and hopefully this kind of produces all right. This is hopefully you guys can all see it. So maybe give a little. What are we looking at here, real quick, Jesse?
Yeah, so you guys are looking at my iPhone camera face forward. We're a refin, J3 as a staysail, and the big masthead running spinnaker, and we're off the starboard shrouds. There is Block Island with a good bit of breeze coming from the north, and yeah, you're looking at downwind, big breeze in the Figaro 3. It's a little damp at times, and Francesca's absolutely killing it on the helm. And you know, the boat likes the waves, it likes the breeze. It's got 2 rudders, which provide a lot of control, and you can grip it and rip it. It likes that.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong. So you guys had 2 boats set up as part of this training thing, and Jonathan, as you mentioned, I think earlier, did a race with you guys, been a little bit involved.
Yeah. Somewhere back there, 2 Figaros.
Oh, there you go. All right, so get a little branding, and I mean, what have you? I mean, in terms of the world of 2-boat testing in this so early on in this thing, what have you guys learned from each other? I guess from the 2 first events.
You know, you definitely got to keep the pedal down, and there's always a priority on speed. And you know, Francesca brings a great discipline to that, and obviously Jonathan is, you know, world famous for that. So it's just been to have 2 boats and pushing those 2 boats as hard as you can. Yeah, you learn a lot about, you know, where the foil is. You learn, you know, what sail trim is quick. But at the end of the day, the number one priority has to be pushing the boat. And as soon as you take your step, you know, your foot off the gas for just a little bit in terms of trimming and driving, you know, sorry, I might have lost you for a second there, but yeah, the number one priority is pedal to the floor like a go-kart race, and go from there. I'll let Francesca and Jonathan speak to, you know, more performance points as well.
Well, I agree
Jonathan. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree with Jesse. Like, it was pretty awesome to have Jonathan sailing the second boat during the vineyard race, because actually was the 2 boats are pretty much the same. Like it's really tiny difference in speed, and it's all about actually how you're sailing the boat. It's not, you know, it's not a big difference in the structure of the boat. So the performance came 100% from the team, from, you know, the driving, from the trimming, and some decision making into, you know, the routing and where actually where's the best way to go, and try to understand the next weather forecast window and understand what would be the best next step. So having Jonathan sailing the other boat was a big push for us too. You know, we were checking a lot his AIS and understand if we, you know, they are 0.2 faster, same angle, we need to do something. Or, you know, and it was a continuous like search for performance to trying to get faster and better. And yeah, as Jesse said, like it's a full learning for us. Like sometimes there is a full moment of like completely reset and restart, you know. Okay, we are slow, we are not doing great, let's start again. You know, where are the boards, what can we do better with the boards, let's check the front, let's check the rudders. Like it's a full like restart and try to get the performance back. And it's a lot going on for a 30-footer, you know, like the boards are making sometimes a massive difference in speed, but then in some moments you can be a tiny slower, but you can get a better, you know, course over ground, and because you get less leeway with the board engaged. So it's a full balance of understanding what the goal is and trying, you know, to achieve the goal in that moment. And yeah, like as I said, having good sailor on the second boat is always a massive important for us, because it's a big push and it's fun.
What did you bring to the table that weekend, Jonathan? Or what? I mean, what did you see that they could improve on?
Yeah, we did the Vineyard Race, which is 240 miles, and it's a very tactical race course. And it was great because we had a good variety of conditions. You know, it's kind of a light to medium air run to go out of Long Island Sound. Then it was medium air reaching out to Buzzards Bay Tower and back to Block Island. And then it was super tricky tactics from Block Island, trying to negotiate your way back into Long Island Sound. And then it was a nice, strong air upwind, 60 miles to the finish in Stamford. So it was a good test of sort of the whole thing. You know, and both Jesse and Francesca touched on the importance of keeping the boat going fast. But at the same time, it's also very tactical, and, you know, positioning is critical. And, you know, that's where those guys did better than Sarah and I did. You know, maybe they were a tiny bit faster, but they actually just did better on the routing and managed the course and managed the current better than we did, and ended up beating us by an hour. You know, that's really the challenge of the double-handed is how do you keep the boat going fast, have the right sail up, you know, have all your weight in the right place, all those things, and at the same time make good tactical decisions. You know, that's where I really think it takes two good all-around sailors that are able to divide up the duties well. And it really showed, you know, Jesse and Francesca now have been sailing together for 4 months, and, you know, you take little steps, you know you're improving, but you don't really know. And then to, you know, have a race like that where you can kind of put it together and be put to the test and have it come out well. You know, just as an aside, you know, not only did they win the double-handed division by a lot, but they were also third overall in ORC, you know, including TP52s and big boats, you know. So it says something about how well they're sailing the boat and how well they're positioning the boat.
All right,
Hey,
well, well
Jesse,
done.
If I could ask a question, yeah, that's a 240-mile race. How long did it take?
I think it was 35 hours.
35. So, okay. So then what amount of sleep were you able to get, and in what periods of time?
Yeah, go ahead, Francesca.
Well, I think that's a critical point, because you kind of always want to be on deck or navigating, and sometimes resting is massively important. So we try to manage this leap in the leg from the Buzzard Tower to Block Island. So we share a couple of hours, you know, 1 hour for Jesse, 1 hour for me, or something like that, because it was basically just a big straight line on starboard going down to Block Island. So it was like nothing tactical, you know, there were not decision-making time. And I think that was a great moment to get some rest. And maybe we get a couple of naps, like really just 20 minutes here and there just to close the eyes and get some rest. And probably when, I think when we were coming back, like upwind, yeah, I think we had just a few naps. So yeah, you finish the race that you're pretty tired, but it's important to get some rest, because then it's really affecting the decision and how fresh you are to think about, like, you know, even like reading a grip file and understand what the wind is doing. If you're not focused, if you're not fresh enough, it's really hard to understand also easy things that normally it's easy to understand.
Well, and that must be part of the whole routing of the race, is that looking for places where you are going to force the rest to happen, so that you can, in the more complicated areas, you can focus on the decision making. And then, of course, you got to, I mean, between the two of you, you have to pick about how much time do you spend working on making the boat go as fast as you can, and then how much time do you do studying what your next move is, or what your second and third and fourth next moves are. And that must be a big part of it. I guess I mean, for all of us, we try to learn as much as we can about the boat so we know just how the boat should behave and how to make maneuvers with the boat and have that be as limited amount of time and effort as we can make it. So it gives you more time to think about the actual race. But this has got to be a tremendous challenge with just 2 people and this big race course that you're doing. How do you adjust for that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot come from preparation. It's something that we learn also from the previous races is if you actually have a really good plan in place prior to start, you can kind of go from there. You know, you have a big picture, like, yeah, it's some sort of long racing, but still, you know, you are inside the 48 hours. Most of the models can give you a pretty precise idea before the start. So that's probably the biggest preparation is like the week before the race and understanding what the weather is doing and what can happen if, you know, if this situation is moving slower or faster, or having all the scenario in place. And then it's based on a lot of trust when we are on board, you know, like, I don't know, sometimes I have the feeling that I'm not performing well anymore because I'm too tired, you know, I start to drive slower. And it's so easy to just communicate with Jesse and being like, look, you know, I think I'm done. Like either, you know, we switch, or, you know, we can try with the autopilot and get some rest. And, you know, it's just an open communication of what is going on all the time, and make sure that we have the right, you know, plan in place.
And for the testing, when you guys actually go testing with each other, and I assume that part of this race was learning by having Jonathan on the other boat, learning about the differences of setting the boat up. Are you communicating in real time about what you're doing, or is that something that you come ashore and then look back at all the data and talk it through then?
It's both thing. Yeah, I think we can communicate pretty live, like, you know, where are you on the board, or, you know, like just short communication, understanding where we are on different settings. And then all the analysis after the training or the regatta is really important. We can get really important data from the software we have on board, and we can analyze everything. So I don't know, Jonathan, if you want to add more.
Yeah, no, I think that's all true. I mean, I think back on the energy management side, the Olympic race is going to be longer. You know, it's going to be most likely 3 nights, 4 days and 3 nights. So this race was almost a sprint, you know, as Francesca alluded to. You know, we all got an hour or maybe 2 of sleep, but you're not going to be able to do that over the course of 3 or 4 days. You're going to need to have some more downtime. And so that aspect of it, I think, will be played up even more. And it's also pretty likely that real-time, you know, routing or receiving weather grids on board is not likely to be allowed in the Olympic race. So then you're going to be using this information that you get at the start. And the longer the race goes on, the more stale that information is, and you're going to have to just be going back to first principles and, you know, watching the clouds, thinking about the diurnal change in the breeze. You know, what happens when the sea breeze changes to the land breeze. You know, okay, the Mistral seems to be building, and you know, that's going to be super interesting. Where it's going to be a real sailor's race and not so much of a weather race.
And one question about the Olympic side of it is when the racing, when you're in the race, are you limited to what you can see in terms of the other boats, or is there going to be the real-time information flow about where the fleet is?
It hasn't been announced for sure, but I think it's likely that you will know where the other boats are.
Okay.
Jesse, I have a question. Maybe it's too early to know or talk about, but how do you guys, if you have a plan, you know, how do you see the next year or 2 unfolding for you guys in terms of training and maybe training elsewhere than the United States?
Yeah, I mean we're in the midst of building that plan, but it's not too early to ever talk through it. You know, it's sort of recognition of uh, internally what we know we need to work on, and then it's trying as hard as we can to recognize what we don't know, which is always a tough process, and then it is looking like it's going to reflect around where can you build those skills the best. And I mean, there's no secret in the world right now that the French offshore sailing scene is up and running. The Solitaire Figaro is happening right now. And when you look at how tight that fleet is, there's only one conclusion. It's the highest level there is. And so, of course, there's a desire to go check in with that level and really know what you don't know. And yeah, we're resource gathering, we're skill building, and we're analyzing, and we've done a really good job, as good a job as you can do, I think, this summer in terms of building that understanding of what we need to work on. But you know, that's an ever expanding horizon. So humility is important there. And I think Francesca mentioned like the reset on our speed at times when we're sailing or tuning or racing, and it's being unafraid to do that. Make sure your ego is completely out of the way and not afraid to have a reset in short-term or long-term strategy. So, you know, the goal has to be to check in with the group in Europe. How and when we can achieve that is definitely a series of question marks, but we definitely want to go see where the world is racing and be not only ambassadors for our sailing world over here in North America, but hopefully bring back you know, an open book of knowledge as to how the best in the world are doing it. And I don't think it's an insult to say that. You know, it's the way the ebb and flow of information works globally. We want to go tap into that.
For sure. We'd be remiss in not mentioning the importance of the financial aspect of it as well. You know, all of this takes money and takes resources and takes support. And we've been incredibly lucky that State Street Bank in Boston has stepped up with a really substantial sponsorship of this program, and that has allowed the athletes to do what they need to do to prepare and to be able to have the resources to go sailing and sail these cool boats. And you know, one of the big motivations for them is that they are really trying to promote the idea that, you know, women and men are equal partners, you know, both in business and this sailing venture is a perfect encapsulation of that. So that's one of the big attractions for the sponsor. Is just the fact that you've got two co-skippers that are doing this thing absolutely equally.
Yeah, certainly. It's great to be able to have the funding going into it. Obviously, then hunting it, as I'm sure Chris knows with his son, hunting it as you go certainly makes a big difference.
It's such an advantage to get a head start on the rest of the, well, certainly on a lot of the world.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. So you've got real quick, Jesse and Francesca. The boats are being they're out of the water, getting wrapped, I presume, and then you've got some winter plans where people could come and check in with you.
Yeah. So just behind me is the branding project, and that's really exciting times for us. And you know, it speaks to the opportunity that Jonathan mentioned. It's just, you know, you got to treat every day on a funded sailing program as a privilege, and the mission is critical not only for our sport but for sport at large. So it's a really incredible opportunity to showcase, you know, the way we all want the world to be in the future, and that's a really cool thing. And you know, that day-to-day moving forward, again, we're in the midst of trying to figure it out. We're trying as hard as we can, and you know, it's a it's a strategy of multiple pathways. But we're definitely going to try to stay in Rhode Island as long as we can. The weather here is great, so we're looking forward to getting back on the water. We're headed down to Annapolis for the Annapolis Yacht Club Double-Handed Challenge in early October. And, you know, any time on the water is incredibly valuable for us. So we are fortunate that these boats sail everywhere, you know, and if you could argue that if you didn't want to sail them everywhere, it might not be the right cup of tea for you. So we're really lucky that we've got a group that wants to sail these boats as many hours as possible. So we're going to sail Rhode Island to Annapolis, compete in the race in Annapolis, and then sail to our next training destination. And we're always learning along the way. So really fortunate there that we've got a great sailing block coming up through October. And, you know, the French are over there in Lorient training, and so they start up their season in January, and the north of France in January is
Pretty gnarly.
it's something. So again, there's always this we're sort of shadow boxing a very interesting theory as to how tough it is over there in France, which is good motivation for us and makes us work that much harder. So yeah, we're definitely chasing that horizon, and you know, we're just taking it 1 month at a time.
All right, so no ants and alls for you guys moving boats. That's good, and but they're a bit of brutal on your body. I know. So the last bit here, that physical fitness is good, and I understand Francesca is a weapon on the bike. So she been you know, dragging you around on the rides, or what's going on there?
Yeah. I got a nice 8mm bit of Spectra I hook right into her seat post, and that's the only way I can keep up. But
We need to get Jesse a better bike. It's
yeah,
the bike. Just blame the bike.
It's this little tricycle. It's really killing me. The beach cruiser's not going to cut it anymore. But you know, fitness is key. This morning in our team workout, you know, it was all about the core. And you smash up wind for 60 miles, and you realize that if you can't keep yourself stable, it's going to drain your battery really quickly. So, I mean, there's an endless kind of chapter by chapter discussion as to kind of the core elements of doing this genre well. And again, we're learning, but you know, fitness is key. You can take that on wherever you are. So that's a constant part of our routine. And yeah, I mean, no ant noms for us. So I think that's a good thing, actually. Not sure what they cost, but to Ed's description, they can't be cheap. So
Yeah.
very fortunate to be sailing on our own bottom everywhere and learning along the way every hour we put into the boats.
Excellent. All right. I think we've hit our limit here. So if anybody else, last questions for Francesca or Jesse?
Oh, just good luck, you guys. It sounds like a great program.
Thanks,
Thanks,
you.
Ed.
Get 'em.
Yep. And so how can we follow you, Jesse? You guys have social media active and websites and stuff. How can people track you down?
We're, I mean, I guess
Working
I'm
on that.
a little embarrassed to say, but we're working on that. It's definitely on the list. Our first order of business was getting through the Vineyard race and safe passage and pushing hard. But yeah, we want a way for people to follow us along the journey. And I know our sponsor and those people around that sponsor will help us there as well. So looking forward to being able to announce more of that and how to best follow us.
Jesse has good hashtags on his Instagram, so you can always follow him personally on Instagram. It's pretty good.
Probably the best way. What's your handle, Jesse?
That's tongue in cheek. I'm Jesse.Fielding, I think is
All
my
right,
Instagram handle. I'm not on Twitter yet, although probably
Yeah.
should be. And yeah, we're working on all of it. We'll definitely keep you posted, Dave, because we know you can tell the world. And hopefully, you know, when we have more to share, you can have us back on this great lunchtime show.
All right, man. We'll step up your game out there on the Insta, and we'll see you on the water, I guess, then.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Thanks, everybody. It's been great to catch up. And everyone have a great September, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day,
you.
guys.
All right.
Dave.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Yeah.